Chelsea entered the 2024-25 season starting another new era, with Enzo Maresca now in charge of the team. Last season ended up being the sole year under the stewardship of former boss Mauricio Pochettino, who was sacked after an up-and-down campaign. He was axed despite a late rally which saw Chelsea finish 6th in the Premier League to claim a European spot, while they also fell just short in the EFL Cup final, losing in extra time to Liverpool, and later made the FA Cup semi-finals. Cole Palmer was Chelsea's top goal scorer last season, and Maresca will hope the attacking midfielder can repeat the stunning form he showed in his debut season after signing from Manchester City. England international Palmer, who also went on to score against Spain in the Euro 2024 final, finished the club campaign with a superb 25 goals in all competitions and was rewarded with a new contract. Palmer scored 22 of those goals in the Premier League, which saw him finish second only to former Man City teammate Erling Haaland in England's top-flight Golden Boot race. Nicholas Jackson netted 17 goals to finish second to Palmer in the Chelsea goal rankings. Raheem Sterling, 10, was the only other Blues player to reach double figures, but he was allowed to leave by Maresca, with the forward joining rivals Arsenal on loan. Having a player in prolific goal-scoring form like Palmer was a welcome change for Chelsea. His winning tally was a vast improvement from the 2022-23 campaign, when none of their players were able to reach 10 goals. Christopher Nkunku is also likely to be a huge threat in the top scorer race this season, if he can stay injury-free after enduring a heavily disrupted debut season having signed from RB Leipzig. Joao Felix, Jadon Sancho, Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, Pedro Neto and Marc Guiu were among the attacking signings made by Maresca for the new season, and they may also compete to top the club's scoring standings. This page will be updated with Chelsea's top scorers in the Premier League and all competitions after every match day this season. Chelsea, Premier League top scorers 2024-25. Chelsea have scored 64 goals in their 38 Premier League matches so far in the 2024-25 season, having netted 15 of those strikes. Cole Palmer is Chelsea's top goal scorer in the Premier League this campaign. Nicholas Jackson is close behind with 10, while Noni Madueke has scored 7 goals in the English top flight this season. Player goals: Cole Palmer 15, Nicholas Jackson 10, Noni Madueke 7, Enzo Fernandez 6, Marc Cucurella 5, Pedro Neto 4, Jadon Sancho, Christopher Nkunku, Levi Colwill 2, Joao Felix 1, Moises Caicedo 1, Axel Disasi 1, Reece James 1, Tosin Adarabioyo 1, Tyreek George 1. Own goals by the opposition 3. Chelsea didn't score in their first match of the season as Erling Haaland and Mateo Kovacic netted for Man City in a 2-0 win for the Premier League champions at Stamford Bridge. However, the Blues responded emphatically in their second Premier League game, thrashing Wolves 6-2 at Molineux. Noni Madueke scored a hat-trick, with every one of those strikes set up by Cole Palmer. Palmer scored a stunning strike himself, and also on target were Nicholas Jackson and, on his second debut for the club, Joao Felix. MD3 saw Chelsea draw 1-1 at home to Crystal Palace. Jackson scored for the second straight game after being set up by Palmer, but Eberechi has equalized for the visitors in the second half. Christopher Nkunku came off the bench to earn Chelsea a last-gasp 1-0 win at Bournemouth on match day 4. It was the forward's first EPL goal of the season, and it was a valuable goal in a match where goalkeeper Robert Sanchez had earlier saved a penalty from Evan Nilsson. There was a more convincing away win for Chelsea in their fifth league match. The Blues cruised to a 3-0 victory at West Ham, with 2 early goals from Jackson setting them on the way and Palmer making sure of the points in the second half. Palmer was the star of the show as Chelsea thumped Brighton 4-2 on MD6. The England international scored a staggering 4 goals before half-time. It was the second time Palmer has struck 4 times in a single top-flight game in the calendar year of 2024, having also netted a quadruple at home against Everton in April. Palmer hit the post when Chelsea played Nottingham Forest at Stamford Bridge on MD7, but he could not add to his stunning 4-goal feat. It was Madueke who got the goal for the Blues, his first since that MD2 hat-trick at Wolves, to equalise Chris Wood's opener for Forest. In their first game after the October international break, Chelsea suffered a 2-1 defeat to Liverpool, with Jackson netting his fifth league goal of the campaign to no avail. However, they bounced back with a narrow 2-1 win over Newcastle United on 27 October. Jackson and Palmer were both on the scoresheet. Chelsea and Man United played out a 1-1 draw at Old Trafford on 3 November, with a rare Moises Caicedo strike sealing a hard-fought point. The Blues played out another 1-1 draw against Arsenal the following weekend, with Pedro Neto scoring his first Premier League goal for Chelsea to cancel out a Gabriel Martinelli strike. The first game after the international break saw Nicholas Jackson and Enzo Fernandez score in a 2-1 win over Leicester. Both players scored again versus Aston Villa, while Palmer netted the third with a stunning effort from outside the penalty area. A few days later, on 4 December, Chelsea dismantled 10-man Southampton 5-1 thanks to goals from Axel Disasi, Nkunku, Madueke, Palmer, and Jadon Sancho. The Blues then came back from 2-0 down to beat Tottenham away 4-3, with Palmer scoring 2 penalties and Enzo Fernandez and Jadon Sancho also netting. Marc Cucurella then scored his first goal of the season to open the scoring against Brentford, before Nicholas Jackson netted to secure all 3 points. However, Chelsea's good form hit a roadblock as the Blues were held to a 0-0 against Everton, before they lost 2-1 to Fulham. Palmer opened the scoring with a brilliant solo goal versus Marco Silva's side, but Chelsea conceded 2 late goals. Chelsea subsequently also suffered the shock 2-0 defeat to Ipswich Town in their final game of 2024, while 2025 didn't start too much better as they were held 1-1 by Crystal Palace, a game in which Palmer scored the Blues' goal. The club's poor form continued with a 2-2 draw against Bournemouth on 14 January. Palmer opened the scoring with a stunning finish, but goals from Justin Kluivert and Antoine Semenyo put Bournemouth ahead, before Reece James salvaged a point with a stoppage-time free kick. Chelsea returned to winning ways in a Monday night clash with Wolves on 20 January as goals from Tosin Adarabioyo, Cucurella and Madueke sealed a 3-1 victory. However, Maresca's side came unstuck again the following Saturday as they lost 3-1 to Man City despite taking an early lead through Noni Madueke, who pounced on a mistake from Abdelkader Kusanov on his debut. The Blues then bounced back against West Ham in another Monday night game, coming from 1-0 down to win 2-1. Pedro Neto netted before Cole Palmer forced Aaron Wan-Bissaka into an own goal 10 minutes later. Chelsea were in crisis mode after getting knocked out of the FA Cup by Brighton, and their form slump continued when they faced the Seagulls again in the league a few days later. Fabian Herzler's side strolled to a 3-0 win. The following week, Chelsea looked set for a good result against Aston Villa after an early Enzo Fernandez goal, but a second-half brace from Marco Asensio condemned the Blues to another defeat. A visit from rock-bottom Southampton provided a welcome reprieve for the struggling Blues, and Chelsea comfortably took care of business, winning 4-0 thanks to goals from Nkunku, Neto, Levi Colwill, and Cucurella. Cucurella then netted the winner during a 1-0 victory over Leicester City on 9 March. Chelsea returned to action after the international break with a win over rivals Tottenham in April, thanks to Enzo Fernandez's strike. However, the Blues could not muster more than a scoreless draw against Brentford 3 days later. Another draw followed versus Ipswich on 13 April, with an own goal from Axel Tuanzebe and a Jadon Sancho strike helping Chelsea recover from a 2-0 half-time deficit. Chelsea returned to winning ways with a 2-1 victory over Fulham thanks to Tyreek George's first Premier League goal and a stoppage-time strike from Pedro Neto. Chelsea also claimed 3 points the following week by narrowly defeating Everton 1-0, thanks to Nicholas Jackson. Following a midweek win over Djurgårdens in the Europa Conference League, Chelsea continued their winning streak with a 3-1 victory over league winners Liverpool. Enzo Fernandez opened the scoring, Jarell Quansah scored an own goal and Cole Palmer netted a late penalty to end his 18-match goal drought. However, the Blues' run came to a screeching halt when they were beaten 2-0 at St. James Park in a game that saw Jackson pick up a silly red card. Chelsea managed to bounce back on the penultimate matchday of the Premier League season to bolster their hopes of Champions League qualification. Man United, who had an early goal disallowed, were beaten 1-0 thanks to a Cucurella goal from a brilliant Reece James assist. A lone goal from Colwill saw Chelsea finish the Premier League season on a high as they beat Nottingham Forest to finish fourth and qualify for the Champions League. Chelsea top scorers in all competitions 2024-25. As well as the Premier League, a busy season for Chelsea includes them playing in the UEFA Conference League, FA Cup, Carabao Cup and FIFA Club World Cup. Chelsea have played 21 matches outside of the EPL so far, scoring 50 times in total during those fixtures. It means they netted a total of 116 goals from 59 matches in all competitions. Christopher Nkunku, Cole Palmer and Nicholas Jackson made impressive goal-scoring starts to the campaign and are involved in a competitive battle to take control of first place. Nkunku has 13 goals in all competitions, but just 2 of those strikes have come in the Premier League. He has scored 7 times in the UEFA Conference League and 3 times in the Carabao Cup. Palmer, meanwhile, has netted all of his 15 goals in the league. Christopher Nkunku scored the first Chelsea goal of the season on August 22. He netted a penalty and Noni Madueke also struck as the Blues defeated Servette 2-0 at home in the first leg of their Conference League playoff round tie. Nkunku scored again with a penalty in the second leg, as Chelsea progressed to the Conference League group stage with a 3-2 aggregate win despite losing 2-1 on the night. And it was Nkunku who impressed in a match outside of the Premier League again on September 24, as he netted a hat-trick in the EFL Cup. Chelsea thumped League Two side Barrow 5-0 at home in the third round in a match that also saw Pedro Neto score his first goal for the Blues. Their other strike was a Barrow own goal. A free-scoring season for Chelsea continued on October 3 at home against Gent in the Conference League group stage. Nkunku and Neto were among the goal scorers in a 4-2 win, but most notable were first strikes for the club being netted by both Renato Veiga and Kieran Dewsbury Hall. The Blues then beat Panathinaikos 4-1 in Greece, with Felix, X2, Mudryk and Nkunku all netting. Mere days after beating Newcastle in the Premier League, Chelsea came unstuck against the Magpies in the Carabao Cup, losing 2-0 to a goal from Alexander Isak and an Axel Disasi own goal. An 8-0 thrashing of Armenian side Noah in the Europa Conference League came next, with Axel Disasi, Mihailo Mudryk, Joao Felix, 2, Christopher Nkunku, 2, Mark Gayu and Tosina Darbioyo netting. The next Conference League game saw Nkunku and Mudryk score in a 2-0 win at German side Heidenheim before Mark Gayu, X2, and Renato Veiga helped Chelsea win against Astana. Chelsea comfortably beat Shamrock Rovers 5-1 in their next game, with Mark Gayu netting a hat-trick along with goals from Mark Cucurella and Kieran Dewsbury Hall. The goals continued in the FA Cup as Chelsea beat League Two side Morecambe at home in the third round with Tosina Darbioyo and Joao Felix both grabbing doubles, while Christopher Nkunku also netted after missing a penalty. However, the run in England's most prestigious cup competition didn't continue much longer as Chelsea were beaten 2-1 by Brighton in the FA Cup fourth round despite an early Bart Verbruggen own goal. Chelsea, however, continued their 100% record in the Europa Conference League with a 2-1 win at Copenhagen in the first leg of the round of 16 with Reece James and Enzo Fernandez scoring before winning the second leg 1-0 thanks to Kieran Dewsbury Hall's winner. The next round saw Chelsea face off against Polish side Legia Warsaw, with a 3-0 win away in the first leg thanks to a brace from Madueke and a first goal for youngster Tyreek George. However, Chelsea lost the second leg at home 2-1, with Mark Cucurella grabbing their only goal, although Maresca's side still progressed to the next round of the Conference League. The Blues put in a much more convincing performance in the semi-final first leg against Swedish side Djurgården. Goals from Sancho, Madueke and Ajax Embrace secured a comfortable 4-1 win in Stockholm. Dewsbury Hall netted the only goal in the second leg to send Chelsea through to the Europa Conference League final with a 1-0 win on the night. Chelsea finished the European season with silverware as they came back from a goal down to beat Real Betis 4-1 in the Conference League final, thanks to goals from Fernandes, Jackson, Sancho, and Caicedo. Chelsea's Club World Cup campaign kicked off on 16 June against LASK, with the Blues running out 2-0 victors, thanks to goals from Neto and Fernandes. The Blues were aided by LASK's star forward, Denis Bouanga, who squandered several big chances. The 25 goals scored by Cole Palmer in 2023-24 meant a Chelsea player had netted 20 or more times for the first time in 5 seasons. In 2022-23, a dreadful campaign in front of goal for the Blues meant Kai Havertz and Raheem Sterling finished joint top of the club's goal rankings despite only netting 9 times each. The only Chelsea player to have reached 40 in a single season is club great Jimmy Greaves, who netted a record 43 goals in the 1960-61 campaign. Palmer will now aim to follow the likes of Diego Costa, Eden Hazard and Tammy Abraham in securing the Chelsea scoring crown in back-to-back seasons. Which Chelsea players have won the Premier League Golden Boot? Chelsea players have won the Premier League Golden Boot on 4 separate occasions, though the feat has only been achieved by 3 separate stars. That is because Didier Drogba was a 2-time EPL Golden Boot winner for Chelsea. As a Leeds United player, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbaink shared the award with Michael Owen and Dwight York after netting 18 top-flight goals in the 1998-99 season and then won it outright for Chelsea in 2001 with an impressive 23-goal campaign. Chelsea then had to wait a little while for their next winner before